Welcome to PRSay. This is the Houston Public Relations Society of America's chapter podcast. Yes, we have our very own podcast. How lucky are we? This is a fantastic opportunity for us to connect with members, learn more about each other, and really just grow as a profession. So I am honored to be your host. I'm Veronica Sofer with Veronica V. Sofer Public Relations, and I have the honor of interviewing our guests on PRSay. We're going to go ahead and get started because I know you are going to want to connect with Terri Larson, APR. She is joining us. Thank you so much for coming on to PRSay.
Oh, good morning, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, I just love the fact that this gives us an opportunity to connect with members that we may not get a chance to see in person. So it means a lot that you took some time out of your day to meet with us.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I live up in the Woodlands, so it's often difficult for me to come in for networking events. Now that we're back from COVID, we're mostly back from COVID, I guess. So opportunities like this are gold.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Terri, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know coming from the Woodlands, you probably haven't had a chance to meet a lot of the folks who are in the inner loop or even south.
Yeah, well, certainly a lot of the newer members. I was actually chapter president in 2009 and chaired professional development for a number of years, was on the board for a number of years, and have been an assembly delegate and on the nominating committee, actually maybe 2 of the last 3 or 4 years. So it's an organization that I support strongly. It's a profession, obviously, that I support. So I'm excited to be able to connect with people and network and figure out things change every day in the world of communications, just like they do everything else around us. So, it's easy to get stuck in the one thing that you do in your niche area and not really see the new ways of doing things. And somebody else down the street or with a different company might have figured out a new way of accomplishing the same thing, but in a, more efficiently or more effectively. So that connection with people is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career path. I know you've got a lot of experience. You obviously are an APR. Tell us a little bit about how that got started.
So I've had what I call a meandering path into public relations. I actually started out working in the news media, working in TV news. That was what I had wanted to be as a little kid. I walked around with I had the hairbrush like a lot of kids did and still do. But instead of using it as a rock star, I was a television reporter. And so that I majored in radio and TV at Stephen F. Austin when I was in college a long time ago. I'm not even sure if that's actually still offered, at least called the same thing, But I started off working in the news media, and then it became something for me that I didn't want to be part of anymore after about 8 or 9 years. We moved away from the stories and the storytelling and the informing to focusing on more of the sensational aspects of news. And that's not something I wanted to be part of. So I transitioned out, had a very short stint in restaurant management. I learned a lot, but it's not my thing at all. Which is one of the things I learned, and then moved into public relations from there. And it's, even that path has been windy, right? I mean, I started working in a law firm. I helped create their PR department and their media relations program, and then to Planned Parenthood and nonprofit healthcare, and then into the pipeline business. And I love being in the pipeline business. So it's, now that I have my own consultancy, I really have stayed in the pipeline business. So it's been an interesting path for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. And I know you're a passionate storyteller, and you talk a lot about one of the core principles being equity. And it seems like that has probably been some of your foundational values that have really helped you in your career. Tell us a little bit about that.
So it's something I've come to through the years. I mean, the love of storytelling has always been there. But recognizing, and equity is one of those buzzwords more recently, right? But recognizing, or one of the things I've recognized along the way is not everybody has the same ability to capitalize on opportunities to get information, right? Or the ability to capitalize on an opportunity to have a voice in a process or in a decision. And so if you're just, we can give everyone the same opportunity, that's giving them equality. But when you help them capitalize on that to really be at the same table, to really have a voice in that process, that's when you get to equity.
Right.
And that's where I've come to realize the last several years, those are core for me. Those are very foundational beliefs. And if I'm working on a new pipeline project or helping a company, decide how to better communicate with some of their stakeholders, that's something that I bring to the table. And it's a conversation, thankfully, that most of my clients are willing to have, and they're willing to go down that path with me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's probably one of those fundamental values that as communicators, we have to connect with and really use it not only in whatever space we're in right then and there, but be ready to grow it into all the other spaces. Because a lot of us do side projects, we work on nonprofits, we contribute in a lot of different ways with our skills.
We do. I mean, and that's, there's a guy that I follow on LinkedIn, and he's a very talented communicator, and has a lot of followers. And when he talks about PR, he talks about media relations, and we're so much more than media relations. Those are old days, right? I mean, now it's really about, understanding who your audience is for whatever company or organization you're working for at that moment, right? And whatever their business objectives are, it's understanding who we're trying to connect with and what they need, and asking them questions and talking to them and doing that outreach. We're so much more, and we're so much of a more robust industry than media relations. And there's a lot of great work that happens within media relations. I'm not dissing that at all.
Right.
Right. But we're just so much bigger than that. And it frustrates me to no end when that's where we sort of get pigeonholed. We bring so much more to the table.
Yeah. No, we absolutely do. I love that. And how do you see PRSA contributing to that? I know there's a lot of mentoring opportunities for us with young professionals coming in. I know our chapter is very diverse, which really allows us to learn and grow from each other. But what kind of advice would you have for someone who's new in our chapter to really tap into some of those core principles and grow them?
Well, so first of all, in terms of it's about participating and actually talking to people, right?
Yeah.
It took me a long time to understand what my core foundational principles are. And I would say they've changed along my path and along my journey as my journey has changed. So I'm not sure that it's, especially certainly for young professionals, they may identify something now, and that may evolve and change over the next 5 years, and that's okay. And we have to allow that to be okay and give them an opportunity to, to have their own path and their own journey. For younger professionals, I would say talk to people, participate, call and ask questions, right? Take somebody out to lunch, or maybe if they're really a young professional, ask them to take you out to lunch.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say for young folks. Yeah, actually.
But really take advantage of all the opportunity, because there are a lot of opportunities within PRSA and within PRSA Houston.
Yeah.
We just have to take advantage of them. For people like me who live in the outlying areas, right? It's difficult to make that journey in, but there are pockets of PR professionals all around this area. It always amazes me every time we do a gathering up here in the Woodlands. I see somebody new that I didn't realize lived there or worked in the Woodlands, and it's, there's a woman that I've met recently through my synagogue, because I also do communications for my synagogue up here in the Woodlands. And she's a member, and it turns out we know so many of the same people, but we've never crossed paths before.
Yeah.
And she lives here, and she goes to my temple. So, there's so many people like that. And when you stumble on those people, there are opportunities to learn and grow and meet more people and tap into new networks, right? So it's really, and every time you do that, and every time, I would say every time I've done it, had a new job or a different project, I learned something more about myself. I mean, that's another, I would say, key takeaway is make sure you're always learning something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really great advice. I love that. Well, Terri, I know we're going to be wrapping up here in just a second, but I want to make sure that people know how best to connect with you, because clearly you've got a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom, and we want to make sure our members are connected on social media. So when we do meet in person, we've already got a frame of reference.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm on LinkedIn. You can just search for me, Terri Larson. And my picture on LinkedIn actually looks like me now. It didn't for a while, which is, that's important, right?
It absolutely is.
I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, but those are more personal channels, right? So really LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's the way to go.
And if I could add in one more piece of advice really
Sure,
quick,
sure.
it's to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, we need to let ourselves, especially the younger professionals, allow yourself to make mistakes. Just learn from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Just learn from them. So, one, maybe it's not really a mistake. Maybe you've actually solved a different problem, right?
Right.
But, learn from it so that you know what to do or what not to do in the future.
Great advice. That's really great advice. Yeah, and it's a good reminder for those of us who are on the other end of the career spectrum too. So I appreciate the reminder. Well, it was so great to connect, Terri. I enjoyed chatting, and I hope that you get to meet a bunch of new members as we start having more in-person events.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Great. All right, guys, that wraps up another episode of PRSay. Again, this is a fantastic way for Houston chapter members of PRSA to connect. You will definitely want to connect with Terri Larson. She is on LinkedIn. And I just want to thank everybody for the great support we've had for the podcast. If you are listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you hit subscribe. And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop some comments and Terri and I will go back and connect. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us.